It was 1:43 a.m. when she leaned over in bed and whispered, "You breathe too loud." It's pathetic. She wasn't joking. She said it with the same irritation someone might use for a dripping faucet. Not angry, just disgusted and tired. Like I was a background noise she couldn't mute. I didn't reply. I didn't even move. I just stared at the ceiling, trying to remember if she had ever spoken to me with warmth in the past month or year. That moment didn't feel like a fight. It felt like an obituary for something I didn't even know had died. The next morning, I tested a theory. I said nothing. No, good morning. No, do you want coffee? No, how'd you sleep? Because I knew the answer. Fine. Always fine. She didn't notice, or pretended not to. But then I noticed something else. She was humming. In the kitchen, while texting. She only ever hums when she's excited. And she wasn't excited about me. She hadn't even looked at me. That's when I saw her screen. A name I didn't recognize. Nico, with a heart. And just 3 words. Last night again? That's when my stomach dropped. And all I could think about was how she used to hum for me. She didn't know I'd seen the message. And I didn't confront her. Not yet. That would have given her power. Control. And I had finally learned something. Marla only responded to silence. When I chased, she ran. When I paused, she blinked. So I said nothing. I simply watched. For 3 days, I observed her like a stranger in my own house. I became hyper-aware of every detail. The way she smiled at her phone but scowled at dinner. How she started showering later than usual and locking the bathroom door like we were roommates in college. She started wearing perfume again. And not for me. I was lucky if she even acknowledged I was in the room. But the moment that snapped something deep inside me happened in the laundry room. She had left her gym bag open. Normally, I wouldn't snoop. I really wouldn't. But I was tired of pretending I didn't see the cracks. I reached inside and pulled out a wrinkled receipt. A bar. 2 cocktails. One of them listed as Love Potion. Cute. But we hadn't gone out together in months. I hadn't even tasted her favorite drink since spring. And now, suddenly, she was sipping something with hearts in the name on a Wednesday night. My hands were shaking. Not from rage, from humiliation. I wasn't angry yet. Just exhausted from playing husband to someone who had already deleted me from her emotional life. I set the receipt back exactly where I found it. I zipped the bag, walked upstairs, and opened the bedroom window. Not for air, just for proof I still had control over something. Anything. That night, she initiated intimacy. First time in weeks. She leaned in like nothing had happened. Her lips touched mine. It should have felt healing. Instead, I felt numb. When she pulled back, she whispered something she thought was seductive. But I couldn't stop thinking about Nico. I couldn't stop thinking about last night again. And I couldn't stop wondering, what if she wanted me to find out? The next morning, she noticed. I had changed, just not in the way she expected. She was brushing her hair in front of the mirror when she glanced at me through the reflection and said, "Something's off with you lately." I shrugged. I didn't even look up from my toast. "Maybe I'm just tired," I said flatly. She narrowed her eyes. Tired of what? God, if she only knew. Tired of guessing. Tired of pretending I didn't see what I saw. Tired of fighting for a seat at a table I built with my own hands. I didn't answer. Instead, I sipped my coffee and let the silence hang. It made her uncomfortable, and I could feel it. She wasn't used to being ignored by me. She was used to me apologizing for things I didn't do, for moods I didn't cause, for coldness I didn't deserve. Later that evening, I noticed something else. She left her phone face down on the couch when she went to the kitchen. She never leaves it unattended anymore. And this time, the screen lit up. Not a name, just a number. No contact photo. 3 unread messages popped up in rapid sequence, one after another. I didn't touch the phone, I just watched. First message, "You good?" Second, "He's acting weird." Third, "Need a place tonight?" That third one hit me in the chest like a shovel. I didn't even know what emotion was surging through me anymore. Heartbreak, humiliation, or some third thing that didn't have a name. She came back into the room seconds later, saw the screen, and casually flipped it over without a word. Then she smiled. Smiled. Like nothing had happened. Like I wasn't dying silently 4 feet away from her. And then, as if she needed to twist the knife deeper, she reached over and gently rubbed my shoulder. A soft, fake gesture. Like I was a child who didn't need the truth, just comfort until I forgot to ask. That was the moment I realized something terrifying. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She thought I'd never leave. That night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there, listening to her breathing. I used to love that sound. It used to calm me, remind me she was real, that she was next to me, that we were safe. Now it felt like I was sharing a bed with a stranger who could barely stand the sound of my breathing. Around 3 a.m., she shifted in the sheets and rolled over to face the wall. Not toward me, away like always. But I wasn't looking at her back. I was looking at her phone, which she left on the nightstand, locked, but not silent. It buzzed. Once. Then again. Then again. 3 separate vibrations, spaced out over 2 minutes. And then nothing. Just the cold, paralyzing silence that came after. I wanted so badly to grab it. I mean, I had every reason, didn't I? But instead, I did something worse. I stared at it. I stared until the screen dimmed again, and the black reflection staring back at me looked like a man I didn't even recognize. The next day, she woke up cheerful. Too cheerful. She put on lipstick before breakfast, complimented my shirt, a shirt she normally called that faded thing, and offered to make me an omelet. We hadn't had a full conversation in weeks, but suddenly she was Susie Homemaker? That's when I knew she was covering something. Not hiding, performing. And she was good at it. Too good. She smiled across the table and said, "You okay today? You've been quiet lately." I looked her straight in the eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't sugarcoat it. "I'm watching," I said. "That's all." The smile faltered. Just for a second. Not much, but enough. And then, she said something that made my blood run cold. I know that look. That's how my father looked at my mother right before he left. She didn't say it with fear. She said it like a dare. And that's when it hit me. She was playing a game I never signed up for. But if she wanted to play, I was done playing fair. The next few days were an act, and we both knew it. We weren't married anymore. We were opponents in some quiet, silent chess game where every movement meant something. Every word carried a second meaning. Even the pauses had weight. She started being attentive. That's the best word I can find for it. Not affectionate, attentive. She made coffee before I was even out of bed. She folded my laundry, even the stuff I normally did myself. She complimented my haircut, which she didn't even notice the last time I got one. She wore that old blue sweater I once told her I loved, a year ago. And still, I said nothing. I didn't call her out. I didn't ask who Nico was. I didn't touch her phone. I didn't accuse. And that, somehow, made her more nervous than if I had. The tension started to leak out sideways. Her voice got sharper. Her patience thinner. She began trying to provoke me in small ways. Passive little jabs. "You didn't forget to pay the water bill again, did you?" Or, "You haven't been yourself lately. Is work stressing you out that much?" But the moment that cracked her carefully staged performance happened over dinner. She made soup, from scratch. Set the table. Lit candles. All very deliberate. I sat down without saying a word. Halfway through, she set her spoon down and said quietly, "You haven't asked me a single thing this week." I looked up, calm, measured. "What would you like me to ask?" She blinked. "Anything. Ask me how I am." "You seem fine." She tilted her head and studied me. Then, and I'll never forget this, she asked, "Do you want me to lie?" I put my spoon down. Slowly, she leaned forward. "Because I can lie, Elliot. I can lie very well. If you want the fantasy, I can sell it to you. I can act like everything's okay. I can kiss you like I mean it. I can wear the sweater, make the soup, smile at your mother. Is that what you want?" My hands were trembling beneath the table, but I didn't let her see that. Instead, I asked one thing. Just one. "Do you think I'm that easy to fool?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. She started closing the door when she showered again. It might sound small, but that was the moment I knew something had shifted. For weeks, she'd been leaving it cracked open, like she wanted to remind me she still trusted me, that I was still allowed to see her. Or maybe it was her way of pretending everything was fine, as long as I didn't ask questions. But now the door was shut, locked, and she hummed again behind it. I stood outside the hallway for a minute, just listening. That same soft humming. A song I didn't recognize. It wasn't random. She was happy, and I wasn't part of the reason. That same night, she got dressed like she was going to a movie premiere. Hair curled. Necklace I bought her 2 Christmases ago. The one she used to forget existed. Tight black dress. Perfume I hadn't smelled in months. She paused at the mirror before leaving and said, "Going out with Tasha. She needs to vent about her breakup." I just nodded. "Tell her I said good luck." She froze for a second, eyes still on her reflection, then turned halfway toward me. You're really not going to ask what time I'll be home? Nope. What? You don't care anymore. I stayed quiet. She smirked, but not because she was amused. It was confusion, frustration, and something else, panic. She said, "You're making me feel guilty, on purpose." I turned to her slowly. No, Marla. I'm just letting you feel whatever's already there. You should ask yourself why guilt is the first thing that comes up. She left without another word. No kiss. No goodbye. An hour later, I sat alone in the kitchen, just listening to the wind against the window. And I realized something terrifying. I didn't want her to come home. Not because I was angry, because I didn't know who I'd be looking at anymore. It was 2:17 a.m. when the front door opened. Quiet. Careful. She was trying not to wake me. I wasn't asleep. I sat at the kitchen table in the dark, half-finished tea in front of me, letting the silence fill the space between us like smoke. She stepped inside and froze the moment she saw me. Not guilt. Not fear. Just that flicker of irritation, like I had ruined her perfectly timed exit scene. She didn't say anything right away, just slipped off her heels and moved toward the hallway, clutching her purse like it held something fragile. Maybe it did. You're late, I said calmly. She sighed. You didn't ask when I'd be back. No, I said, but I still noticed when you weren't. She walked into the kitchen and flipped the light switch on. I didn't flinch. She looked at me and crossed her arms like she was preparing for a lecture, but what I said next wasn't anger. It was worse. Did Tasha have fun on her imaginary night out? Her whole body stilled. Then, colder than I'd ever heard her speak, she said, I didn't ask you to wait up. And there it was. No denial. No lie. No fake story about drinks or traffic or girl talk. Just the admission that she didn't expect to be held accountable. I stood slowly, chair scraping against the tile. You didn't ask me to love you either, I said. But I still did. She looked down. Not ashamed. Just tired. Like this had all been inevitable. Like we were both stuck in some script she had already written the ending to. She turned to leave the room, but I wasn't done. What do you tell him? I asked. About me? She froze again. Her back was to me, and she didn't answer. I stepped closer. Do you tell him I'm the boring husband who doesn't pay attention? The guy you outgrew? The man you tolerate because it's easier than admitting you already left this marriage 2 years ago? Finally, she looked at me, and for a moment, I thought I saw her crack. Not tears, not anger, something deeper, like grief. For what we used to be, for who she used to be. But just like that, it was gone. And she whispered, I didn't think you'd notice. That line hit harder than any fight we'd ever had. Because she wasn't just admitting to betrayal. She was admitting she believed I didn't matter enough to detect it. She didn't come home the next night. There was no lie, no cover story. Just silence. The kind that wraps around you and squeezes your chest until you stop wondering where they are and start remembering who you were before they made you feel so invisible. I didn't call. I didn't text. And for the first time in years, I didn't chase someone who already made the choice to walk away. The next morning, I packed 2 bags. One with her things. One with mine. I left hers by the door. Mine, I took with me. No fight. No drama. No shouting in the driveway. Just peace. Because walking away isn't weakness. Staying in something that breaks you day by day, that's the slow death. I moved in with my cousin for a while. Spent a few weeks eating scrambled eggs at midnight and learning how to be alone without feeling lonely. I started journaling. Got back into hiking. I even smiled at a stranger in a coffee shop and didn't feel guilty for it. That was new. Marla texted a few times. Nothing dramatic. Just cold, factual updates. Your mail's here. Do you want the box in the closet? I answered politely. Nothing more. It's been 4 months now. I saw her last week by accident, in a grocery store parking lot. She looked thinner, tired. She smiled when she saw me. I nodded. She walked past. That was it. And yet, something in her face told me everything. She knew what she'd lost. Not a perfect man, but a loyal one. Not a romantic fantasy, but a real human being who would have stayed if she had just reached for him once instead of pushing him away every time he got close. I don't hate her. I just finally love myself more than I love the idea of saving something she was never holding on to in the first place. So if you're watching this and wondering if it's worth staying in a love that doesn't see you, hear me now. You matter, even if they pretend you don't.